has joined the meeting.
Hi, everyone. We're going to get started in a little bit. The mayor and the chiefs are just getting out of a meeting, so it'll just be a few more minutes.
Participant has joined the meeting. Has joined the meeting.
Hi, everyone. Just going to wait a few more minutes.
A participant has joined the meeting. A participant has joined the meeting.
Do we have the command staff and the fire or police department on? So we're close. That's it.
Is it unmuted?
Yes, sir. Yes, we're on, Mayor.
There we go. Hello. I just wanted to welcome everyone and hope everyone had a safe and enjoyable summer, and again appreciate you taking the time to join this conference and continue the work we're doing and hopefully making Schenectady better and stronger. I unfortunately going to have to drop off to get on another call, and then we'll join back in a few more minutes. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Chief Clifford. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. What we are going to be doing today is, and we're going to hope to stay within the hour time frame, is bring this collaborative up to date on where we have been, what we've been doing over the summer. Even though the summer seems to have flown by, we have made some progress on many different things. And most importantly, we're going to be asking this collaborative to start doing some more work into the fall and hopefully the winter, so that we can start making progress on all of our committed reform efforts that we came up with last year. We are going to have Carissa lead this meeting today, and joining us is Officer Pat Irwin, who is going to be leading the efforts moving forward. He's gonna be learning today how we've been doing this and how Chris has been running the meetings, and then he'll be taking over. And he will be our new point of contact for each and every one of you moving forward. We will communicate through email all of that information that you'll need to know. So the agenda that I'm going to turn it over to Carissa. She can go through the agenda. And of course, we're going to hopefully have time at the end where we can answer any questions that anybody has. So thank you, everybody, again. And Carissa, turn it over to you.
Thanks, Chief. Okay, so what we'll start with is going through the project tracker. I'm sharing my screen right now, just to go through updates, let everybody know where we're at in terms of completion of things going forward. So I'm just going to go through the tracker. I know that we do have a few folks from PD that had a scheduling conflict.
Has joined the meeting.
We'll be able to communicate those updates later on through an email. But just to start, Lieutenant McLaughlin was working on response to resistance. This was going to be the update to the current form. Lieutenant McLaughlin, did you want to speak on this?
Yes, I am prepared to speak on it. Just so you are aware, I don't know if everybody else can, but we are not able to see that screen. So I don't know if that's on your end or our end, but I can speak to the response to resistance. We are currently working on getting the rest of a quarter of the police department who hasn't, but 3/4 of the police department has now gotten trained in the digital response to resistance collection. That is now currently in the test mode to make sure that it is ready to go across the fleet. We are also working with the Fin Institute on ensuring that the data collection from that new form is ready to go. We are getting a little bit of feedback. I don't know if somebody has a microphone that.
Brian Lee.
So I don't know if Dr. Gordon, you want to speak about the aspects of the response to resistance and use of force reporting and our collaboration there, sir.
Yeah, sure, Lieutenant, thanks. We, just so everybody knows, SPD shared with us 6 years of use of force data based on their old reporting form. And we had to do some coding of text entries that weren't readily classified. We've done that according to a structured coding form that we bounced off the command staff. They gave us some very helpful feedback on going forward with coding. We followed up and got some additional information from the PD on individual sworn personnel. We're going through and cleaning some of the names in the use of force reports now, since they don't always come through in crystal clear form, as you might imagine, when they're entered. And we still need to follow up with someone in the police department about getting some additional information from the TASER forms. There aren't a lot of those. At least I wouldn't characterize it as a lot over the course of 6 years. I think we've identified 90 to 100, and we'll need to fill in some of the blanks on TASER usage. But then we can get started with analysis in earnest, looking at incidents, at subjects, that is the subjects of use of force, and patterns by individual officer, all with a view toward, as Chief Clifford reminded us when we met with the command staff, with a view toward reducing the incidence of the use of force, if insofar as analysis helps the department to do that. So we'll look at patterns from every angle that we can apply to the use of force data. I can't, at this point,
Participant has left the meeting.
for that. It's going to turn to some extent on how quickly we can round up the TASER information, but I would hope that September, by the end of the calendar year, we'll have some findings that we feel pretty confident about and are prepared to share with folks. That might be more than you were really expecting, but that's what I've got.
No, thank you, Dr. Warden, on that. Does talk about the collaboration, and hopefully by digitizing the form, it makes it a little bit easier for your coding in the future as well.
Does anybody have any questions? All right, moving right along. Lieutenant McLaughlin was also working on the electronic collection and response to resistance data. So that falls in line with getting everything up online. So any progress on that, Lieutenant?
Yeah, that is the part that's in the testing phase, and it is something that we already are looking at for jumping slightly ahead also on the transparency phase to make sure that the data can be collected. So we are making solid progress. Like I said, we've implemented the training to 3/4 of the sworn members of the police department, and we are in a solid testing environment where we are already accepting any response to resistance forms on that platform to ensure that it is successfully collecting the data and being ready for processing.
Great, thank you. The update, Chief, the update to handcuffing and restraints policy, I believe that was reissued and the policies change was done, correct? Yes, perfect, okay. So that one is completed. For community engagement officers, Lieutenant Mascherone was working on this. Do you have an update for us?
Sure. So we put out for a grant. I think we talked about this before we left for the summer. We've put in for a grant through, I believe, DOJ or DCJS. I can't remember which organization it was, but it would cover 15 extra officers who would be able to work on issues of many of the things that Sergeant Mannix and I work on, which is harm reduction, community health related issues. We haven't gotten word back on that yet. Still awaiting. We did also, Northern Rivers applied for a grant for a crisis intervention team. We weren't selected for that this time around, but I believe the selection goes on in another 6 months. So we've been notified to be prepared for that. So, and then just on the harm reduction end, just as we're kind of preparing for hopefully some enhanced training, Schenectady Cares has kind of made a change today, about 1 day later than we had expected. But we're working on an outreach-based program where we're going to be working with Northern Rivers, New Choices and Catholic Charities. And the idea is not, whereas Schenectady Cares was originally just a walk-in based model, like the original one, now we're working with those two agencies to make sure counselors are able to connect with people post-overdose. We've noticed just from evaluating the trends that we have far more overdoses than people that walk in. And we felt like getting that information, instead of just sitting on it, but getting that information to the right people, instead of just having a police officer reach out, would be beneficial. So that went live a few days ago and is officially live as of today.
Awesome. That also goes into the next one, which is funding for mental health resources and existing programs. I believe there was a lead meeting earlier this week. Lieutenant Mascherone or Chief Clifford, did you want to speak to that?
I'll let Chief just talk a little bit more about it. I wasn't at the meeting, but I got a briefing on it afterwards.
Sure, sure. If you're not familiar with what LEAD is, it's Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion. And the lead for LEAD is really being done by Sheriff D'Agostino and his staff. We were invited in to join that, so it's going to be looked at from a countywide perspective. And so I'm happy to say that we are progressing with that. We had a meeting with the executive director of LEAD. She came in from North Carolina, and then also with retired Chief Cox from Albany, who's one of the local leaders for it. I think he's like the regional or maybe he's nationwide director for it. In any event, we have a lot of traction moving forward. I see it as happening, and it's about as much as I can share at this point, other than the fact that I'm very happy that that we're going to be doing that, because this is something that's going to really supplement the work that Lieutenant Mascherone and Sergeant Mannix have been doing. And just to go back on what he said, I just want to give him really some credit, him and Nick, to go from our previous model to the current model, where we're actually being proactive now, is a huge step for that program, and I think it's going to serve our community very well. So we're excited to see what happens there, and then when we add LEAD into this mix, which is really going to be to address the same type of harm reduction intervention within our community, but LEAD will be more focused on individuals that have committed crimes or violations, and rather than put them through the criminal justice system, we're going to divert them through services and case management workers to make sure that, you know, when they're ready for help, we will get them that help. So I don't know if Jamel is on the call right now. Do we know if Jamel's on?
I don't see him, Chief.
Okay. All right, so I'll just leave it at that then, to say that more to come on that. But it is some exciting time for us as far as dealing with individuals with certainly with issues that are driving them to do some bad things, and we're going to try to get them help if they present themselves to us to be repeat offenders and they fall within the guidelines. So.
Great, thanks, Chief. Sergeant Deering was working on de-escalation training and education. Do you have an update for us?
Yes. Actually, as of this past Monday, we just completed the in-service training model here with all of our officers. All the officers have now completed the 8-hour Force Science Institute realistic de-escalation training. Myself and Sergeant, we conducted that training here. Well, we actually use the Zone 5 Academy. So all our officers have now completed that. As a side note, it went over so well and got such kind of recognition that him and I got certified to teach it, that we've also already taught it to St. Rose Campus Safety, and we've already instituted it into the Zone 5 Regional Law Enforcement Academy as part of the basic school training. So those things have already taken place. And like I said, as of Monday this week, every officer here at the department has gone through that class.
Great, thank you. Lieutenant Mascherone, weaponizing the police reduction.
Yep, we met with Mediation Matters. We reached out to Mediation Matters, I believe, following one of the later meetings earlier this year. Had a chance to have a formal meeting with them in Sharrow Valley as well about some of the services that Mediation Matters offers. When we left it over the summer with them, they were going to take a look at what the resources were going to look like for the remainder of the year with COVID and everything like that. So we're probably due to reconvene with them sometime in the early fall to see how we're going to integrate some of the services that they have. But some of the ideas would be behind, you know, those routine calls that we'll get for neighbors that continually call back and forth on one another, where, you know, an arrest may temporarily solve the issue for a few minutes, but not the long-term issues. So to be able to integrate mediation into some of our operations is what we're looking to do with that, and certainly much more than that as well. But we should be ready to probably meet back up with them in the early fall here.
Great. Ron Gardner was working on recruitment and working with the group 100 Black Men. Ron, do you have an update for us?
Yeah, hi, how are you? Yeah, we're
Hi, Ron.
still working on getting the pieces in place for the community engagement. And also we're having conversations with the Schenectady Community College and Dr. Shabazz in terms of assisting with the community engagement, some preliminary training as we go out back to local opportunities. So, but there's a series of things that we have moving in that direction. I will update you as we get a little bit further along. So we are working on some of the frameworks of the MOU and some other logistical pieces. And I'll update you. But yes, we are definitely moving forward to being more engaged in this area. Staff from the department. So very excited.
Thank you, Ron. I just wanted to check in. Can everybody see this, the tracker screen that we're going through? I think a few people can and a few people can't. I just wanted to double check. I'm getting some thumbs up. Awesome. Okay, just wanted to double check. Thank you, Ron. For reimagining the hiring process, Chief Sieber, and I don't see in time much on the call. But this was starting with just going through different software. Chief Clifford, did you want to speak on this?
Yeah, I can take this one. And I know, I think I saw Will on the call, so maybe Will can speak on the developments from this morning, or Ron for that matter. I know Ron was there. But yeah, if let's talk about well, actually, I'm sorry. I'm lumping this in with the new hire advisory panel. From reimagining the hiring process, I should say that for the most part, we're progressing that, and this is something that we're going to want to package up together and do a presentation on. But I can tell you that we have started using Guardian Alliance, which is a software package to help us electronically receive applications for candidates. That software company does social media checks on the candidates, and it also checks their internal database to see if they've applied to any other agencies. So we can see if they've been turned down, but they haven't been honest about whether they've applied there. That's only as good as agencies using Guardian Alliance. So we're hoping that from promoting it, that we're using it, that more departments will start using it. And as more police departments use it, it'll be more valuable from that perspective. We've also started looking at a new firm that was recommended by Ron Gardner to do our psychological assessments. So we've used them on 2 candidates, and we also had them done by our old psychological firm, so we can compare the feedback received by each of them, and that's still kind of in a phase that we're looking at right now to see how we like them. So those are a couple things that we're doing there right now for the new hire candidates. And as far as the new hire advisory panel, I'll Chris, I'll let you see who can speak to that, whether it's Ron or Will or both.
Yeah, absolutely. Will or Ron, did you want to chime in?
Hello.
Hi, Will.
Hello. Yeah, sure. I think we had a great meeting this morning and looking at a couple candidates to add to the panel. The advisory panel has been functioning. We're growing. We're adapting. The process of the individuals receiving their badges. We've had a great response, and as a panel, being able to function and feed off each other, being able to grow in that space, it's been great. At a discussion. at the next group of candidates that may be coming through. So, we're really excited and thankful to the city and to the police chief and everybody. So it's been great to where we're at. We're looking forward on what we're going to continue to do.
Thanks, Will. Okay, so moving right along, Lieutenant Mastro and Sergeant Deering, we're working on the anti-racism training. Last time we spoke, training models were being researched. Any updates so far?
We had a couple components of it. We were taking in the equity challenge, which has gone around the capital region. We're in week 10 of that now, which is introducing some different topics and talking points and things around bias, anti-racism, social determinants of health, things like that. That are, again, I think we're about 10 weeks into that right now. Sergeant Deering and I have been both doing a bit of research on bringing in an actual trainer. We had a meeting recently, and Sergeant Deering, you can tell me, I forgot where she was from, but I believe it was Ontario, Canada, about coming down and providing training for us. But we've kind of been searching around for different training options specific to anti-racism for police officers.
Yeah, we've been doing, quite a bit there. We, like the lieutenant said, we met with her. I think we both kind of agreed that what she brought to the table
left the meeting.
didn't fit exactly what we were looking for in that mindset. So we're still kind of out there doing some research. So if anybody does any suggestions in that avenue, obviously we'll take them and see what we can find on those places as well.
Just a quick question on this one. From last time, there was an action to work with the local NAACP. How did that go on this topic?
We, I think I saw Reverend Harris raise her hand, but I met with Reverend Harris and Reverend Wright and Reverend Santos regarding this topic. And if Reverend Harris is on and she wants to speak, I want to pause to let her, because we did speak about working closely with the NAACP on finding a trainer.
Can you guys hear me? I'm sorry. I think I was talking and muted. Okay. I did want to give an update on that. So we did reach out to Dr. Deidre Hill Butler, who is, let me look this up so I'm saying the title correctly. She's the Director of Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion, and the Chief Diversity Officer at Union College. So I asked her for a list of professionals that she would recommend. So I'm just waiting to get that back from her so that I can share that with you. I think she would be a great resource, even from being, she is a Schenectady resident, and she does have, 2 young teenage boys that she's raising in this community. So I think she'd be an asset from that position as well. But being her with her experience, the books she's written, the articles she's written on this subject, I think she'd be a great resource. So that is who we reached out to. She is a member of our chapter, but I wanted for her to provide a list of professionals for us because I think she has more resources than we do.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a level of obviousness to if there's something that can be done locally or a local trainer, right? That's sensitive to the history of the community. I think that's a key thing. So thank you. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you, Reverend Harris. Thank you, Jengis. And I agree with Dr. Butler being a good resource for us to look at. I can't believe we haven't thought about it earlier, but so thank you, Reverend Harris, on that. I also want to point out, and I can't remember who sent it to me. I'm not sure if it was you, Ron Gardner. Was somebody else sent me, and maybe it was Councilwoman Patrick that sent me a referral. Also, I can't remember her name, but I do have another one. So what I'll do is I'll send that to Carissa and Pat, Officer Irwin, so that it can be added to the discussion on who we're going to find for this because we're going to be talking about putting together a working group for each individual topic in a moment. So I'll send that to them. Back to you, Carissa.
It was actually, can I just say, it was Kathleen McLean, who is one of the leading anti-racism DIE, DEI trainers in our region.
Perfect.
I bumped
Thank
into
you.
her Juneteenth too and mentioned that, she might be getting contacted.
Okay.
All right, thanks everyone. For Chief Clifford, the civil service changes with the civil service system, things like that. Did you have an update? I also know the mayor was working on this as well, but it was kind of on pause at the moment.
Yeah, I wish I'd had an update, but I don't. I can report that we will be giving our police test on Saturday, September 18th. So this Saturday. From my numbers, don't quote me on it, but I believe there's 130 people signed up for the test, which is very low. And we're gonna have to, once we get past this Saturday, we're gonna have to start discussions on whether that's gonna be enough applicants, let alone passing the test, to fill our needs. And we might have to start thinking about recruiting for a test for the following year already. As crazy as that sounds, assuming everybody passes, even 120, typically when we hire usually one of 8 candidates, you can see that, we're probably about 30 people that might be actually passed through the background checks, and that's countywide. So a lot of the individuals taking the test will have taken it. We'll get hired by other departments countywide, other departments regionally, and then also the state police comes into play because they're starting to hire. So those numbers get whittled down real quick. Other than that, I don't have an update. It's the system hasn't changed. It's the same system that we have to utilize, and what we have to do right now is strategize on how to get better within the system right now, and then also parallel discussion, talk about whether we can advocate for changes to the system.
Okay, thank you. Sergeant Deering, Reimagine Officer Wellness.
Yes, so Sergeant Weekly and I have been working on this. We have identified somebody that we feel would be a good fit to be our clinical director for that. And we actually have a meeting set up for, I believe it's the first week in October, to have her come in and meet with Chief Clifford so we can make the pitch for our kind of overall officer wellness in regards to not only peer support, but physical wellness as well. So an all-encompassing program. So again, first week in October, we have a meeting set to introduce her. So.
Thank you. I can't, it looks like it's blank, but I think Lieutenant Mastron, were you working on ABLE?
I was not.
Okay. Chief Clifford, I apologize, but remind me who was working on ABLE. I think there was a group of people, but unfortunately I don't have it in front of me right now.
Yeah, ABLE, ABLE is something that our training division is looking into, but we have not been actively engaged in bringing it to the department right now. The biggest reason is that it's very heavily training based, and we just don't have the personnel both within our training division to implement it. I can report that some training I went to this summer reinforced my desire to want to bring it forward. It's just a matter of I think buying ourselves some time, bringing back hopefully getting our staffing levels back to where we need them to be so that we can start building out our training division to be able to introduce this program. In the meantime, there's many parts of ABLE that we are already discussing internally and implementing. And it's just a matter of whether we can actually bring the program forward, which we want to. Something we haven't really been able to tackle this summer.
Thanks, Chief. Moving on to Lieutenant Kelly, continued learning and procedural justice.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
Okay. So we, Lieutenant Thomas and I have kind of changed positions a little bit, but we're continuing to do instruction for New York State, and we've started to bring our supervisors to those trainings to get them trained as instructors. Recently added 4 sergeants to the implicit bias portion of that training. We're continuing to work to integrate or personalize signage for the agency to reinforce that within. And I believe we have one person on the committee. I don't have the name in front of me. We haven't had a meeting, but I'd like to get together in the next week or so and at least present the material that we have through New York State to kind of get some local opinion, local critique of it. And I believe it's something we could probably make available to the different community groups that want to put together maybe a 4 or 5 hour training session where we can actually bring a couple officers and go through the curriculum and get local feedback on it.
Thank you. For expanding community policing, Chief Malibu is working on this. Chief Clifford, do you have an update?
No update on this one. This is one of the ones that we want to kick back to the collaborative, the group that's going to come together and really talk about what community policing is going to look like in the city, what the community would like it to look like. I can report that this past summer we did make it a point to have more walking beats. We made a point to be out in the community, engaging more. And I hope that was seen by the collaborative. I hope that was seen by the community, the efforts that we've been trying to make there and along those lines. But as far as expanding community policing, again, these are things that we just have to almost hit pause and wait to see, where we are staffing wise before we can start building out certain units. And so incrementally we'll get there. We're just, this is something that we just didn't make any progress on this summer, other than to really start implementing and talking about the messaging internally about doing it.
Sure, and that also rolls into the community police substation. The mayor hosted an event with police, fire, and codes a few weeks ago. So more community pop-up events are coming down the line, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Going forward, Lieutenant Mascherone with community conversations. This was also going to be part of like the subcommittees, so we can touch on that when we go over those projects as well. Unless Lieutenant, do you have any updates, or we can keep going forward?
No, for the most part, we can keep going forward. We have held some community conversations specific with youth. Did some at the school over the summertime. We had another senior community conversation in small groups. Unfortunately, the dynamic of COVID has made large group conversation a little bit more difficult. So, but I know we'll touch on more on that in a bit. So,
yeah, and I can add one thing on this. This is a recent development, so I really can't go into too much detail. I promise to be able to update everybody by our next meeting with more specifics. But and I want to give credit where credit's due. Through Lieutenant Kelly and Lieutenant Antonovich's work by training procedural justice on a statewide level, we've been invited by DCJS to participate in community trust building conversations. And we are going to be connecting with them. They're going to assist us with some resources to get that done, some professional resources as far as discussions about selecting the right mediator and selecting the right members of the community and selecting the right officers to attend and have trust building conversations. There's only one other community in the state that's going to be doing this. It's a pilot program that could expand statewide. So we're very proud to have been selected. And so we will be more to come on that. It's at the very early stages. And so I'll be able to give more information on that hopefully next meeting.
Thanks, Chief. The next one, improving online reporting. I believe this was going through, just reading my notes here, the Unified Communications Center. Chief or Lieutenant McLaughlin, do you have an update? I think Chief Mallard was also working on this as well.
So I know that we have been in the process of collaborating with the city's IT department and also the mayor's office, and are currently also looking at exploring C-Click Fix and some of the opportunities that allows for us with the current integration of our city website platform, but also bolstering that with some of the other technology that we currently have to try to come up with both a cost-effective but efficient platform that is readily accessible to the public. So I can tell you that we are making progress. It is not something that we're doing lightly. We want to make sure that it's vetted before it's completely available in every form. But I know we are making some progress in that. We are testing different options that have been put out on the table for us, both from C-Click Fixed and from other vendors that are out there. And evaluating what is going to be universally easy to use so that we can try to lower some of the barriers that exist for the public in trying to get information to us, both good, bad, or indifferent.
Thank you. The next is the subcommittee meetings and stakeholders. We're going to get into that once we finish the project updates, so I'll just hold that for now. Chief Clifford, the Public Safety League, I know we're still waiting on at least the mayor's end and the fire department's end of naming official members for the foundation at least, but yourself or does Jill have any updates for this?
We were successful over the summertime to an extent with working with the Boys and Girls Club and the city schools with getting officers out to those locations to interact with the youth of the city. We did come across a problem with staffing, just people on vacation and whatnot. I've been speaking with Lieutenant Mascherone, and we put together a community calendar that we're going to be putting out. So like everyone, like the desk sergeant, if there's an event coming up, they know about it and we could possibly deploy officers to that. We're going to try to work on getting more officers to events throughout the fall and winter time, as well as work on putting together a more complete public safety league. I don't know if Lieutenant wants to elaborate on that or not.
No, I mean, I think you've covered most of it. We were successful in getting out to, again, the Boys and Girls Club, the school district. We did some things over the summertime we also collaborated with the YMCA on some programming with them that was very successful. So we did see, even with the limited resources over the summertime, lots of people on vacation, we were able to get out and have some success with that. So again, just like Joe was talking about, we have a community calendar that will be shared amongst the entire command staff here. So we'll have a much better understanding of everybody going different places, because there's probably many more things going on than any one of us realizes at any time. So it's probably update there.
Thank you. Lieutenant, we were talking about call to action for togetherness between the community and the police as one of the projects. I know that's ongoing at the moment, but if you just want to talk to some of the updates. Lieutenant Mascherone.
Sorry, it was for the community. I'm just looking at 9.1. You cut out at the end there.
For 8.8.
Yeah, I'll take this one. I don't want to put Lieutenant on the spot. I think that this 8.8 is simply doing what we're doing right now. Everybody coming together, continuing to show up to these meetings when we call them to give updates. I'm requesting that each and every one of you ask questions. You know, if you're thinking it in your head, ask us the question. We'll be glad to answer it if we can. If we can't answer it, we'll be honest with you and just tell you that we haven't done it, or we haven't thought about it, or we'll give you the answer, whatever it is. But that's really what it comes down to. Is I'm happy to see so many people on this call right now, continuing these talks. This is the community coming together for the reason that we're here, which is to try to make our police department better, serve the community, so that we can repair the relationship between I shouldn't even say repair, I should say repair where needed and improve our relationship with the community. So I think that's what the point of this whole 8.8 is.
Thank you, Chief. Project 9.1, commitment to transparency. Lieutenant McLaughlin.
So as I mentioned, the collaboration with respect to the website is definitely ongoing. From the internal side, I can happily report that I've worked pretty extensively with our crime analyst director, and I know that we are capturing all of our CAD, all of our computer-aided dispatch and RMS. I was going to use the records management system, the two abbreviations there. We are capturing that data in a format now that is light years ahead of where it was and ready to be publicly posted as soon as we have a platform to be able to pull that off. We are working internally on testing that platform now and trying to make it so that it's friendly for every device and not just the old-fashioned computer, so that if somebody wants to look at the data on a cell phone, they're going to be able to do a deep dive into both that data as it's relevant. As I mentioned earlier in some of the earlier points, we're also working with the Fin Institute for some of the response to resistance data. So we are making great progress here. As you can imagine, for an agency of our size, we have a lot of data, and that data has taken some time to make sure it's in all one spot in one silo, and that we can upload it. But we are probably closer than the department's ever been to being able to publish that data, and I do plan and hope that we can do that maybe even before the calendar year is out. So.
Awesome, thank you. And also stop reporting. Lieutenant McLaughlin was working on this too.
Stop reporting is live and currently in operation. It has been working now almost since the beginning of when we created the project tracker, so I can happily report that it hasn't had any major bugs, and I should knock on the table because I may have just jinxed myself, but otherwise it does work successfully, and we are capturing the data and will be added to part of the transparency piece. So that data will be available, as will the rest of the data that we were just speaking about.
Thank you. And then the last two projects are just the commitment to the CPRB, Chief Clifford, or if Carl Williams is on the call as well, if you guys wanted to speak to that.
I do not see Carl.
I'm not sure if Carl's on or not. I can report that I have a call scheduled for tomorrow morning with Carl for us to discuss many things with the CPRB. We have not had a conversation in a couple weeks, at least. We communicated about a month ago. Unfortunately, our schedules didn't align, so but we are going to be speaking in the morning, so we should have progress to report hopefully by next meeting.
Awesome. Okay, so those are the updates from all of the projects from the collaborative report that we were working on. I've been taking notes and I have a more extensive spreadsheet to send around with updates more clearly identified for everyone to also be posted online at a later time. Does anybody have any questions at the moment regarding the projects or the tracker or process in general?
Yeah, I just have one clarification question, and sorry I came on late. I had a prior meeting. This says update as of 6/15. So is this from June, or is it really is that just a typo?
That's just a typo, Marion. I
Okay.
apologize.
No, I just wanted to make sure because if that was clarified before, I'm just, like I said, it has prior meetings, so I didn't know if that got clarified. I just wanted to make sure if, what the update was from. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just one quick question on earlier topic and I'm glad that, and congratulations to the officers who did the 100% de-escalation training. I'm assuming there is a process to track some kind of improvement based on that training.
Genghis, it's Lieutenant McLaughlin. Yes, as part of the response to resistance and also the work that we're doing with the Finn Institute, we have now the ability to obviously start looking back at both past uses of force, if you will, or calls, compare that to call volume, and also look forward and all the way down to the granular level as to the amount of resistance and the amount of force that is or is not necessary, was or was not used, and then compile that with access to both our body-worn camera and some of the other sources that we have here. We can look to see whether or not it's considered in line with training, not in line with training, and what improvement we're going to gather from that. And that also then leads on to the transparency piece, and we hope to be able to then report on that so that everybody can see what we're seeing, so that everybody gets, to form whether it be their own conclusion or agree with our conclusions on that.
I have a couple questions. One goes back to the beginning. There was a mention about an updated restraint policy, and I missed a meeting, and I'm just wondering if it's possible for us to be able to see that updated policy at some time. It may have already been shared and I missed it. And it's great to hear that that there's a continued practice of having more and more calls for folks needing mental health care to be able to go to not need to fall to the police. I know at a meeting in June, I believe, it sounded like there was a pretty high number of calls that were able to be diverted. I'm just wondering how that is going. Is it continuing to be in that same sort of percentage that it had been at the beginning?
So Reverend Harris or Reverend Gardner, just to answer your questions, the updated policy should be on our website, on the city's website, under the collaborative. That updated policy should be there.
Thank you.
For you to see it. As far as the mental health calls, I think it's almost a two-prong approach. I may ask Kevin Spahn from the UCC, who's on here, to see if he can add to this from his end, from the diversion at the call receipt level. I can tell you that before he goes, or I turn it over to him, prior to coming to this meeting, I thought about possibly bringing an officer to present to the collaborative an update on what we've been doing with Northern Rivers on diverting mental health calls, or bringing in a mental health professional to calls when we can. That practice has been started. It's been working for a while now. I chose to wait for this meeting, and we'll bring it to the next meeting, because I think I want to do a presentation that better explains exactly what we're doing. We may even consider doing a walkthrough of, this is how it works on our end. So, it just would have taken me too much time to pull it together today. I didn't want to do it in piecemeal. So by next meeting, I want to put that together.
Yeah, that just seems like a real success from this. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm not going to claim 100% success. I think we're moving in the right direction there.
Yeah.
But then we're also doing it at the call level too. If Kevin can talk to how that's going.
Another question that I had was about the de-escalation and mediation trainings that have been offered, and then the weaponizing of the police. Wondering if there's been any thought to offering those de-escalation trainings to community members, so that rather than neighbors calling the police back and forth and back and forth, that there might be able to be community members who are able to have some of that de-escalation and mediation training to be able to help in those situations that the police are being weaponized by those phone calls.
So Sergeant Weekly and I actually did have that conversation after we finished up the in-service here Monday. The issue that we kind of run into is the in-service training, or the actual de-escalation training itself, is a full 8-hour model. So we're trying to figure out a way to kind of pare it down to something along the lines of maybe 2 to 3 hours that we could offer out to the community. You know, we've done community trainings before for active shooter type things. So when we finished up on Monday, that was one of the things that we put on our list to kind of look at the curriculum and see what we could pull out and really make a 3-hour training as beneficial as we possibly could for anyone in the community. So.
Thank you. And I think Reverend Harris, did you have your hand up?
Okay, yes, I wanted to ask, and it may have been discussed because I have not made these meetings, but I know Justin is on the call, and I believe he's been at the meetings that have been happening with the NAACP and the police, right? So things like the de-escalation policy, these things, can we discuss those in our meetings? Because I think that's the kind of information that would be useful for us to be able to communicate to the community as far, so I wanted to ask that first.
Okay, so just so I can update everybody, just so they know, is probably for the past 2 months, I want to say, I've been having weekly meetings with a couple of times where we've had to reschedule with the Public Safety Committee of the NAACP. And for the most part, we're discussing topics that are of either current affairs, current interest, or just general topics of police reform that we've also been talking about on this collaborative. So Reverend Harris, are you asking if we could talk about on this forum some of the things that we've talked about, Justin and I have talked about?
Well, no, yes. Well, some of the things we discussed here, yes, if we can discuss in those meetings, because I want us to be involved in. I want to have those discussions as well in our meetings. Like we have, I know that we have events that are coming up from that meeting, like events where we're collaborating between the NAACP and the police department, which I think all of those things are great. But I think some of these other vital things need to be communicated as well to the community, and we can do that in our monthly NAACP meetings and stuff. We want to be able to say what's going on as far as changes in the police department, so that we can communicate, accurately what's happening. So and I'm saying this to say I don't know, because I have not sat in the meetings. Our members from that committee have, but can these discussions been going on in the meetings? Can they go on if they haven't been? I know they've been productive, but I just feel like this would be great information
Yeah.
to have those meetings also.
Yeah, I think that probably would be appropriate during these meetings right here for us to give either yourself or Justin the opportunity to speak about things that have been happening both at the NAACP as it relates to police reform on your end. And one of the reasons why I've been happy to have these conversations and I'm looking forward to continuing them is at some point this collaborative is going to be over with. And then we're going to continue on with the relationship that I'm building with the public safety chair on the NAACP, whether it's Justin or somebody else that moves into that role. And I guess we could always say that if you're on this collaborative right now and you want to stay a part of those, then you can just join the NAACP and still stay involved in everything that's going on. So I don't know if that would answer your question, is if we were to provide Justin with an opportunity to give an update about our discussions or anything that that we've discussed that he feels is important to bring to the collaborative? Is that it?
Well, yes, he can, but what I'm really saying, I'm sorry, I apologize for not being all that clear. What, what I'm really trying to say is that I want the discussions that we have with NAACP to move forward in a direction where we're talking about the kind of things that we're talking about here, because it is because okay, so here's what happens at the NAACP, right? Because we're the NAACP, we get the complaints against about the police. Let's not say against. We get complaints about the police, right? And so what will happen sometimes is we'll bring a video to a meeting with you and say, somebody from the community brought this video to us and said, this was a Schenectady police officer who did this, right? And so we find ourselves sometimes in those meetings, we can end up troubleshooting or address, or like, you know, just kind of addressing the issue at the moment. And I want us to move beyond. I mean, yes, we're going to do that with the NAACP. We're going to get complaints and concerns from the community and their ballot concerns and complaints. But I also want us to move in a direction where we are talking about these things as well. Is it clear? Like what
I think so. I guess what I would have to say is that I think I see where you're going with it, and I think the only thing I would have to say is that what I'm willing to do with the NAACP Public Safety Committee by addressing certain complaints immediately. Those are the complaints that I feel need to be addressed immediately. If it was just a general complaint, I may say, I don't want to discuss this here. Let it go through the CPRB process. What I don't want to do is is discuss complaints on this format here. I mean, we have members of the media on this, and I just don't think that generally this is the format I want to discuss complaints. But certainly anybody that you feel as the president of the NAACP that you may want to bring to your meetings for that, I'd be okay with. But you know, I don't think this is the format to do things like that as far as discussing complaints. By all means, if you want to give an update to the community about something that maybe you feel that they need to know about, that'd be perfectly okay. But I think that, you know, I almost think we need to keep the two separate.
Okay. Well, thank you for answering that. And we do want to extend the invitation to the police department we have our monthly meetings, usually second Thursday of every month. So, you know, we can make space for the police department to come to one of our meetings and present or anything like that.
Okay. Any other questions before Carissa maybe see what else is on the agenda?
Yeah, so we're a little past 3 o'clock right now. We were going to go over the spreadsheet that has the subcommittees and the partners from the community that we're going to take the lead, as well as the police department counterpart to that. I just want to be mindful of time. I know we're over at the moment. And also I just want to take a second to point out that this time last year, we were just starting these meetings. And I think it's wonderful that we're continuing these conversations and clearly going through this project tracker. The police department has really made a lot of progress, and it's not just, doesn't happen with just one person, it's everybody on this call. So I think that's just a little pat on everybody's back to make sure that, you know, we keep going forward with the work that we're doing. Chief, did you want to go through quickly that spreadsheet with the committees on it, or I'd be happy to send a separate email just identifying kind of roles and responsibilities and how to kickstart that.
Yeah, I think in the interest of time, if you could send an email with the spreadsheet with everybody that's volunteered to be on these committees. And what I'm asking at this meeting right now is that if your name is on that list, collaborate amongst each other, have a meeting, whether it's a conference call or a virtual meeting, or you get together in person and start talking about the topic that you're assigned and start moving the needle forward on discussions. If you find that you need participants from the police department to be there, in addition to the person that's already assigned, just ask and we will make that happen. Just looking to make sure that we start just moving forward. By the time we have our next meeting, it's going to be October, and and then November. So, we need to start having these discussions happening. We need somebody to take the lead on it on each different committee. And then the next meeting we have, because it's taking us an hour to go through the whole project tracker, we're going to do just the opposite. We're going to email the project tracker out so everybody can see it. And then we're going to talk about the individual subcommittees and what's been happening as far as those go. Because I do want to, before we let everybody go, I know, try not to go too far over. I do want to have Justin speak about the event that we're talking about having or planning on having on September 25th, so that everybody becomes aware of that.
Can everyone hear me quick? I'm sorry.
Yep, we can hear you, Justin.
Excellent. I won't keep everyone too long. We are doing a First Responders Fall Festival, on top of all the things that myself and Chief Clifford do discuss in our weekly meetings. And I'm sure he will get off this call and tell everyone in that room how much I stress him out regularly about everything I ask him and ask of him. But we are doing at Central Park, we're doing a First Responders Fall Festival from 11 to 4 p.m. We're going to be doing a pop-up tent setting where we want youth and community members to come out, kind of speak to all of our first responders, hear about the job, kind of see what partakes in it, and kind of draw that interest to them, and also ask them any questions that they may have. This is part of our full transparency, right, that we want to start building towards, and to give that community the opportunity to see as well what's being done, the reform that was just pushed through and sent forth, so they know that there is change that is trying to be made for the positive going forward here. Also accepting vendors that come in. If there's anyone that you know that would like a tent or a space, please email me. They can email me at chairs.justin@gmail.com, or they can email Reverend Harris through the NAACP email as well, and she'll direct you to me if you don't remember my email. Carissa as well, and Miss Aurora will send it to you if you reach out to them, if you know their email. So anyone that's there that has information, I'm looking to have several other groups come for information from New York State to help. I'm also just on the phone with the Big Brother program. We're going to try Big Brother, Big Sister program, and try to get them down there with a tent as well into Schenectady and Snug. So there's quite a few array of people that we're going to look to have there to be a wealth of information for our community. To start to branch out here.
Justin, what was the date and time of that?
September 25th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Park, Schenectady.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
We will have food there. We're going to have food there. We will make sure that there's some things to be given away, food and beverage. And we're hoping that everybody on this collaborative, this is for you just as much as it is for the police department. It's all the work that we've done over this past year, coming together, to basically, connect with each other. We've been doing it virtually. Now let's get outside and we'll do it in person. And I do want to take this opportunity to thank Reverend Harris, Justin, Chairs, and Sheila Rouse. This was really their idea that they brought to me, so I want to thank them for extending that invitation to us. We will be there, and we will be hopefully be able to see members of the community, and this might be a really good step in building that bridge to building trust and getting a better understanding of everybody's different viewpoints as it relates to policing and policing reform.
Carissa, do you mind if I speak on the event a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, Pat Irwin. I'm the PIO at Schenectady, and eventually I'll be taking this over from Carissa. But as far as the event, like the chief said, we're going to be bringing burgers and hot dogs and beverages, and that money is actually coming from the Public Safety Foundation we created, which was a result of the fundraiser we did with the retro blue uniforms. I'm sure you guys all saw. So that's money from our own officers, and that's our way of giving into the community. And we're going to be supplying burgers and dogs from that foundation.
So Chief or Carissa, I just wanted to, I know you spoke about this a little bit about the, the mental health calls, et cetera. This is Councilwoman Porterfield, sorry. I just wanted you to know that over the holiday weekend, there was actually, I received a phone call saying, hey, there's someone in need of a mental health intervention. And so I was able to actually give them the phone number for Northern Rivers, and the mobile crisis mobile team did respond. So that's just a testament that it's maybe it's not 100% formalized, but it is working, because I received feedback that they were able to come and talk to the person, and so it averted having an actual police call where the police had to show up and do that. So just to want you to know, those connections are coming together.
Perfect, thank you. We love hearing stories like that. That's actually the way it should work, ideally, is, maybe members of the community know that resource is available and they can contact them directly. And of course, they're always welcome to call us if they need us, but, they should not have to, we should not have to be the first call that they make for something like that.
Okay, Chief, I don't have anything else on the agenda for today. I don't see anybody else's hands raised. I think we might be all set.
All right, before we end, is there anybody on the call that wanted to bring anything up, or not necessarily a question, but just a statement or anything? Okay, I don't see the mayor. The mayor isn't back yet. He must still be on his call. So thank you, everybody. We appreciate your time as always, and your dedication to this effort. And we will see you in a month. And please, if you're on a committee, we'll get that email out, but make sure you get that connection going, and we'll see you in a month. We'll actually see you on Saturday the 25th. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Has left the meeting. A participant has left the meeting.